Cheaper than our producer's underage sister. Edgier than the stuff shown on late night television. Newer than Kim Kardashian's ex. Live from Orlando, it's Crazy Train Radio.
Folks, Croc back here with you. Actually, fortunate enough to have this guy on the line because the most interesting part is not only did he have a 22-year career with the WWE, which is the minor leagues of wrestling, but the real reason I'm having him on is because of his book, The 3 Count, My Life in Stripes as a WWF or WWE Referee, Jimmy Korderas. Jimmy, what's going on?
Oh, not much. Thanks for having me on.
Great. So we're actually coming up on the release of the book on April 1st, correct, huh?
Yes. April 1st, it's available for pre-order right now, but yeah, April 1st is the official release date. And it's not.
So is this some sort of joke, or was that set up on purpose, April 1st?
I think it was purely by accident. I guess, you can thank the people at ECW Press because they're the ones who picked the date, so... yeah, it's not a joke. It's an actual book being released.
Well, what made you say, all right, I want to sit down and write this after you had left WWE?
It's funny because it started. My wife actually was the one who started me off. She started after I left. She said, you should write a book on all your stories that you have all those years and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't know if people want to hear a fun book, where they want to read a fun book. In my mind, I was thinking, guys want to hear all the dirty, seedy underbelly of professional wrestling and all that stuff. Everybody wants dirt, and I didn't have any dirt. Well, so and then I began working with Ardo Cal up here in Canada, doing our show Aftermath, which was right after wrestling when we started. And
Sirius Radio, by the way. Sorry to cut you off. That show is on Sirius Radio, so make sure you look it up.
Not anymore, though. Unfortunately, long story, but we're not on Sirius anymore. So we're working on bringing it back. But anyway, So working with Arda, I'd tell him stories when we'd be sitting around, and he said, dude, you should write a book. And I'm thinking, yeah, but nobody wants to read these funny stories. They want to read crap, like the old Eric Bischoff controversy creates cash kind of thing, right? So then eventually we just, we pitched the idea to ECW Press, and they liked it, and we went with it.
Because I'll tell you what, Jimmy, as one who reads a lot, especially a lot of the wrestling books, some of the most entertaining parts of the books, for me anyway, have been the funny stories or the rids or the positive stuff in the books along people's travels. Mm-hmm. So I think there would be an audience for your book to see all the positive stuff, not just the negative bullshit. Yeah,
I hope so, because that's the thing. I mean, I'm not trying to paint any illusions that it's 24/7. It's biscuits and gravy over there. It's a rough life. You know that any entertainment business, whether it's professional wrestling or whatever, it can be a grueling way to make a living. But it was something I loved doing for over 20 years, and I just want to express I enjoyed my time there, and everything that I have today is because of my time in the wrestling business. So, I'm very happy about it and very proud of the work I've done.
Well, because you said there are rough moments, and it's known that there are moments, both good and bad, but for someone like yourself who's known as a family man and never had any real issues publicly, how hard was it for you to have the lifestyle, as you mentioned, being married and kids, and just try to have a normal life outside of work?
It's not that hard. I mean, when you have the support of your family, when they support you in what you do, like my wife always said, she could always tell how much I love the wrestling business, so she would never ask me to leave something that I love so much. And you just have to, have that mindset where you can have that balance between, life on the road and life at home, and just do your best with it and try to be, best person you can be.
Yeah, so you were luckily enough to be able to, when you were home, and when you were out working, you were out working, which is
right.
good to
And
hear.
Try not to bring work home with you, and vice versa. If you have problems at home, try not to bring them to work, and if you have problems at work, try not to bring it home.
Well, I'd be curious to know, from your opinion, and obviously you're very biased since you wrote the book, is there any one particular story that you would, or a couple of reasons that you would say people would really enjoy the book, or for those who have interest in buying?
I know for me, even though it was a tragic time for everyone involved, I think the chapter writing about the Owen Hart tragedy, I think, will be interesting. One, because I've never really talked about it with anybody outside of my family in depth. I mean, even at work, I really didn't talk to too many people about it, and what I was going through emotionally and mentally and that sort of stuff. And I think people will be interested to see that we're not that we're human, and we do have emotions, and we do go through things, and when we lose someone that we consider a friend and a family member, that it touches all of us. I think that's important.
Well, because obviously I don't want to give away all of the stories, and obviously with something like that, you had a very unique experience with that, literally being in the ring when that accident occurred.
Yes.
But was the company and everybody there supportive of you, like to say, hey, if you need to take some time off to deal with this, or, what you got to take care of yourself, witnessing that, was that allowed for you if you decided to?
Yeah, it was offered. I mean, Jim Ross was fantastic. He was a head of talent relations at the time when that happened. He told me if I needed any time off, whatever time off I needed, just to let him know he's cool with it. And I said, you know what, I didn't want to take any time off, only because in my mind I was thinking if I took the time off, then you're thinking about it constantly. Do you know what I mean? I needed to get back out there. It's like the old adage, falling off a horse. When you fall off a horse, you got to get right back on. That was my mindset at the time. So it was offered, but I didn't take it. I just wanted to get back, doing what I was doing.
They try to have a quote unquote normal existence for what you were used to.
Yeah, exactly. Try to get back to your normal routine and see if that helps. Obviously it's something that stays with you, but at least you get back to somewhat of a normal routine.
Well, did you find that to help you to have a normal routine?
Yeah, to some extent. I mean, even to this day, so many years later, it's still something that sits with me. But getting back to it and getting back to the lifestyle, so to speak, really, it was something that helped.
Well, actually, I do have one more question on the topic before we move on, and not that. Excuse me if it's given away too much, but because obviously the topic has been talked about extensively over the years, but when did you, being in the ring when that happened, would you say you noticed, okay, that he's falling, when things started looking not normal for what was planned?
Well, I didn't see the fall itself, so I just heard it and felt it, and that was it. And right then I knew something was drastically wrong, and that was pretty much it. I mean, like right there. At the time, I didn't know what to think. But, once you start thinking in hindsight, then, you start thinking, yeah, it was not good. But I literally panicked. I admit it.
Yeah. Well, who wouldn't panic in a situation, something like that?
Yeah.
But, anyway, yeah, I'm sure you go more in depth in the book. Another interesting part that I always found with you, too, that is talked about, or maybe not as much, but the infamous Tough Enough challenge with Kurt Angle and Daniel Puder.
Yeah.
You kind of speeding things up there to prevent injury. What actually happened with that?
Well, they had their little challenge there where they had the guys doing their physical challenge. I guess I forget what they called the actual move that they were doing. But anyways, well, Kurt came out and he challenged the winner to a little bit of a wrestling match, and he to be fair to Kurt was not 100% at the time. He was still suffering a little bit from his neck problems, and he wrestled around a little bit with the first guy, and I'm sorry his name escapes me. But then Kurt put out the challenge out there and said, anybody else want to go? And then of course Daniel Puder put his arm up and he came in the ring and they started wrestling. And when I guess the thing was Kurt is an amateur wrestler and Daniel Puder is an MMA fighter, and Kurt was trying to shoot in amateur on him, and they were tied up in the corner. Then I at the time I wasn't a huge MMA fan, but I realized that he pretty much got a Kimura arm bar on Kurt Angle and wasn't letting go. And knowing Kurt Angle, he was not going to give up, regardless. So I figured one of two things were going to happen: either they were going to stop, or Kurt's arm was going to break. And I didn't again, one of those situations. What do you do now? How do you step in here and try to help the situation out? And then when Kurt ended up getting Puder on his back, I instinctively went down and counted. It was just
try to speed things along here.
And thinking back on it, like again, here's hindsight again. I'm thinking to myself, I counted to 3 like an idiot. If it was an amateur match, it should have been 1. And it was over, so I shouldn't have even bothered counting to 3. I should have just said 1. That's it. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, you were thinking in terms of the professional style and instinct there.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I know there's people saying out there, well, Puder's shoulders weren't down. Let's not argue over minute things.
Yeah, it was one of those. You were in the moment. All right, how do we settle this without somebody getting seriously hurt?
Exactly. Because you could tell it was escalating, and there was no way Kurt was going to give up.
Yeah, just knowing that how tough Kurt is legitimately.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, hey, to be an NCAA champion, Olympic champion, and had the success on the amateur level that he has, you got to be tough.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But the one curious thing I'm always about, and obviously you spent a lot of time working with him, whether behind the scenes or in the ring, that people ask us about would be The Undertaker.
Yes.
Would you say the statement that has come to us is true, that he is Godfather-like with his presence?
Yeah, absolutely. He's when you talk about leaders in the locker room, he's the man, and deservedly so. He's earned that position in that respect. If you talk about guys who have earned the right to be called locker room leader, he's definitely the guy.
Well, I'm not sure how much you actually follow, but how do you feel about the once a year continuing with the streak, when obviously the man has earned all the money in the world, all the respect, just everything, any angle you look at, he's been there, done that. He don't have to prove himself anymore. Do you think it's time for him to say, hey, Taker, hey man,
No, to be honest with you, I think the time for him to retire is when he feels like he should retire. I think it's totally his call. He's earned that right, and you know what? If the streak continues, more power to him. I from a personal standpoint, I hope it doesn't end. But if it were to end, I hope it would be to really benefit someone else. But again, I think that's his call.
Do you think that's would be his call to say, hey, you know, I think this guy's worth it, or is it the office you would say that says, hey, we want to wrap this up this streak-wise, or?
Hard to say. I mean, like, obviously he's earned the right to have his input, and I think him being all about business, if he knew that it would be the right thing to do, I'm sure he's all for ending the streak if it was right, and that's the thing. It has to be the right moment and the right person. So, you know, is this year the right moment? Who knows? It's a tough call.
Yeah. Well, I would say back to your book, though. Is there any particular story other than the Owen one that you would say people would get a kick out of? Like more on the positive side of things.
Yeah. I mean, there's all sorts of little stories in there. Like there's one early on in the book where I talk about going to pick up Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth at the airport and getting pulled over by police on the way. And there's, of course, travel stories about with me and my old riding partner Tony Chimmel, which we, old Philly boy that that we used to crack on each other a lot and just have a lot of fun. There's other stuff. There's a whole. It's all over the board. I mean, there's travel stories from stuff on planes and that sort of stuff. So I think there's a good variety. There's a good mix of different stories in there that I think people will enjoy.
Well, also from what we had heard, don't know how true it is. Don't know what because you know how things on the internet take. But actually, back in '06, you would take off the road briefly for health reasons. Was that true? And if so, how's your health several years later here?
No, that was blown out of proportion. It was actually pneumonia. So, you know how it is.
Yeah, like I said, internet, everything on the internet is true, like the commercial says.
Oh, yeah, of course. The trusted source, Wikipedia, so.
Yes. But, folks, the 3 count. Oh, before we wrap this up, I did see about the book, which was interesting, that you actually had Edge do the forward for you.
Yeah. I mean, how cool is that? I wasn't sure, like, they asked, who are you going to ask to do the forward? And I said, you know what? Who better to ask? I will ask Edge and see if he was cool with it. And I asked him, and he said, absolutely, no problem. So I was like, wow. Now, see, that was awesome. That was awesome.
And he at least he was very well receptive to jumping on board, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a Canadian thing. What can I say?
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up. Because you're actually from the Toronto area, correct?
Yeah, born and raised, yes.
So, yeah, it must have been cool to have another, even though he's not from the city, another Toronto guy do so.
Yeah, it's kind of weird in Canada because it doesn't matter where in Canada you're from. You're kind of like, you can be from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, but you're still well received all across Canada. And as long as you're a Canadian boy, you're considered, a fan favorite no matter how villainous you happen to be.
Well, you notice that, and that's a good point. It doesn't seem to matter whether it's wrestling, hockey, acting, music, whatever. If a Canadian boy or girl does well, you guys are so well supported, and it shows across the board there.
Yeah, and, I don't know the exact reason for it, but I guess because Canada's population is basically 1/10 of that of the United States. So, you could probably fit everybody in California into Canada, and I think it's roughly the same population. So, I guess they feel more like I don't know, more like I can't even put it into words. You know.
Yeah. Other than Brian Adams, the musician.
Yeah.
It seems like they go whether it's
and Nickelback too. Yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, it seems like whether you look at a Bret Hart, an Edge, Christian, Gretzky, I don't care who you look at, who's Canadian boy done well, that Canada as a country, as you said, is willing to say, hey, they're ours.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they were ours. So
yeah.
That again, book is 3 count. My Life in Stripes as a WWE Referee, April 1st release. However, Amazon.com and every other book outlet can pre-order, as Jimmy said at the beginning of the interview. Comes out April 1st. No joke. Jimmy, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Adam. I appreciate it.
Hang on the line for 1 second.
Okay.
Hey, Jimmy, thank you, sir. Just want to know if you would cut an ID for us, if possible.
Oh, sure. What would you like me to say?
Hey, introduce yourself. You're listening to Crazy Train Radio with the Croc.
With the Croc?
Yeah.
Okay. Anytime?
Whenever you're ready. It's still recording.
Okay. This is former WWE referee Jimmy Korderas, and you're listening to Crazy Train Radio with the Croc. If you smell what the Croc is cooking.
Thanks, Jimmy. Yeah, it was funny. I made a contact, which I put down in TNA, which is a clusterfuck if you haven't heard, with their PR department and all. And,
right.
So anyway, I had a whole brief because he was doing Radio Row with Chris Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously, which was fine. Got on the phone, cool. Then went into total gimmick, which, like I said, fine, deal with it, it's cool. But the promo he gave, which I'll send you the link to, which is like, dude, have you been drinking for real?
Too many apple teenies?
Yeah, I'm sitting there laughing, though. Afterwards, I went back and heard it doing the editing. I'm going, you got to be fucking shitting me.
Wow.
Like, yeah, it was entertaining, but it's like, like you just said, did you have a couple of apple teenies before? And this was a TV day that they were doing this.
Right.
I'm like, you got to be shitting me.
That's unbelievable.
But thank you so much, sir, and keep us posted on how things are going with the book and everything else.
Absolutely. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and if you can, forward me the contact you have for ECW Press, because I'm going to see if I can work something out with them to help promote.
Okay. You could probably.
Well, just send it down to me on Facebook there. That'd be easier.
All right. Okay. I'll send you the email to them.
Thanks, and happy birthday again, Jimmy.
All right. Thanks again, man.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.